please welcome our final guests, Ryan Giggs, Nicky Butt, and Philip Neville.
David,
David, nice to see you. David. It's an extraordinary film, actually. And what did you think it was going to be like? I mean, and how did it come about, Ryan?
it was Gary's idea, actually. It was Gary's brainchild. He has so many ideas in a day. But no, it was Gary's. I think it was the 20th anniversary of winning the Youth Cup. So we wanted to do something. And when we were actually making it, we're all thinking to ourselves, what's this going to turn out like? We didn't have a clue, but to be fair, they're really pleased with the outcome, and directors did a great job.
Nicky, what did you think it was going to be like? I mean, were you worried about it at any stage?
Yeah, I think we was. I think we was worried about it being another one of them football documentaries that everyone's seen and probably a bit fed up of. And it's a story that everyone knew about. Obviously, everyone knew about Ryan, David, and the rest of us. We all knew our history in the football and the stuff we've done. But the way they pitched it to us was great. They said it's going to be more than just a football film. It's about friends growing up and living their dreams in a city that was really come onto the world scene in them days, in the 90s.
Who do you think's the star of the film?
I think Scholes is, because nobody'd ever heard him speak until the film, and he came out.
He's made up for it though over the last few years.
Yeah.
No, I think in the movie he obviously was relaxed because it was done over a period of time where he could relax in his own house and tell stories about when he was a kid. And Scholes, when he's relaxed, you'll know more than anyone. He's really funny. He's quite witty. He's sarcastic, and it came across in the film. I think he came across more as well as anyone because nobody's ever heard him speak, and they saw the real Paul Scholes.
I mean, you interjected there and said they've heard plenty from him recently. Are you as surprised as some of us are that he has become a very talkative pundit?
No, because he's got. I'm a bit surprised because obviously I think if you'd have said to Scholesy 10 years ago that you'd be on the TV or you'd be having a column in the paper, he'd have told you where to go. But
he did.
But I think when you actually listen to his views, and obviously he was a great player, he was a brilliant player, and his views on football are obviously very good and interesting, and he has a different aspect to so many things. So it's great to eventually hear from him.
Nicky, when did you guys meet then for the first time?
I first met probably Scholes in Gaznev first, playing in junior football when he was probably 12, 13. In the town teams playing against each other. I played for Manchester boys, Scholes was Middleton boys, Gaz was Bury boys. We played against each other then. Obviously Phil was a bit later than us, he's a bit younger than us, and Ryan was ahead of us at the time. So probably Scholesy and Gaznev and Bex as well when we was probably 12, 13, and then obviously met Ryan coming up to 14, 15, and at the same time as Phil really. Phil was the younger one of us all, but he was in with us all because he was such a good player at that age, so it was good how we all come together really.
Was it really a difficult decision, as the film indicates, between cricket and football for you?
No, not really, because I was playing with Nicky, with Paul, sometimes with Ryan, with Gary and Bex, and I was at school at the time. They just joined Man United, and to experience and to witness the joy that they were experiencing, training every day with our heroes. Brian Robson was our hero, and they were training literally in the next dressing room, sharing a canteen with these people. So that when they used to come home and tell me the stories, it was quite an easy decision to make, really. And to be fair, at cricket at the time, there was not like when you left school, you had to go to university and to college, and I just didn't quite fancy that, really, to be honest with you.
Ryan, how did you get on in the early days? I mean, did you immediately have this great rapport with each other, or who got on with who and who didn't get on with who?
He was a bully.
He was a bully? Why do you say that?
Because he was the oldest one, and he used to make us do stupid things in the dressing room, and because he'd been through it. You had to stand on here and tell everybody who your girlfriend was, and what you do to your girlfriend, and
It didn't last very long with you,
No.
did it? No, it was more character building. I went through it. Yeah, all the play. We spent literally from 8:30 at the Cliff in this dressing room. You would get changed, then you would go out train, then you would have your lunch, and then you would wait for Eric Harrison to make sure that the jobs were done, the boots were done, the balls were done, the change room was, and it could be 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then he would sometimes come down and say the showers ain't clean enough, and just disappear in his office for an hour. So we would be literally there from 8:30 till sometimes 5:30, 6 o'clock. So yeah, we had to sort of entertain ourselves, and that's when really the bonds grew. And of course, like I got on with Nicky probably more than the others, Gary and Bex, who were sort of like, it was a weird sort of friendship really when you look at it from the outside, but they become friends, and Phil and Scholes as it went on. So, but we all got on together as well.
And you all felt, all three of you believed that you would make it as professional players. Nicky?
I think it sounds a bit big-headed that, but it was just on a wave really. We was winning games as playing as 15-year-olds together. We was winning games at 16, at 17, and we felt it was just progression. It was just a progression that sooner or later was going to play for the first team, because we had a manager who was massive in bringing young players through and give them a chance, and we had a club who was patient with the managers to get the great times that came. So in a way, we all shouldn't have expected it. But I think we did, because we were just, that was the way we were bred, that was the way we got brought up at the club, was to go out in the morning, like Ryan says, early, train and be the best you can be, and go and win things. We never patted each other on our back when we won. We never got too carried away, because it was the way we got brought up. It's what was expected of us, was to go out and win every time we played, and move on to the next age group and the next age group, and before you knew it, you was playing for your first team and obviously then your country, so it was just natural progression.
Ryan, you had heroes in the first team?
Yeah, I played with most of them.
In that, when you were still 14, 15, who were the heroes from the first team for you?
Brian Robson and Mark Hughes. Brian Robson because he was the captain, he was the leader, he was just such a great player. And Sparky as well, similar, but also because he was Welsh. And just growing up, I idolised these players. And then, like Phil said, at 13, 14, you're sharing a canteen with them, and you're literally, 5, 10 yards away in the Cliff, sometimes queuing up for dinner with them, and it was just part and parcel of growing up and life. So you didn't really think too much of it, but then when you look back, you thought it's unbelievable.
You had the same heroes?
Yeah, the same. I think Brian Robson was my hero. Obviously, I was a midfielder growing up, a Man United fan, and I'm sure anybody who was around in them days, our midfielder particularly, would have Brian Robson as their hero. He was such an immense player. But more importantly, he was a brilliant person, a great man, especially with us coming through as youngsters. He would always watch our games, put an arm round us, give us a roasting when we needed one, keep our feet on the ground. And if he was down, he'd put his arm round you. So as a role model, as a player, everything about him was top drawer, and it lived up to, when you see things with heroes, and you hope they live up to him, and he certainly did that with all us.
How did you regard your brother?
He wasn't my hero. No, well, to be fair, me and Gaz have been best friends.
Yeah.
There was a period maybe between 16 and 18 when we weren't as close, because he obviously was fighting like mad for his career and I was fighting like mad for mine. But we got close then once we got back into the first team, and we've remained close ever since, and we've been competing against each other for a long time. And like the lad said, we were mixing with our heroes, and we weren't just mixing, we were cleaning their boots, we were cleaning the showers. Mark Hughes was a stickler for discipline and respect. He would make you knock on the first team door before you go in, just out of respect. This is the first team room, and you're going to earn the right to come in here. And I think it was a great upbringing that I think a lot of the young lads are missing nowadays, for not having that kind of upbringing.
Are they? You say they're not having that kind of upbringing. I mean, do younger players clean the boots of senior players now at all? Doesn't happen at all.
No.
And does that happen in any club, or is that as you understand it? That's completely gone?
No, I mean, the world's changed, and I don't think you can ask the players now to do what we used to, but still, they have to, learn the discipline about knocking on the first team door instead of just walking in, taking drinks out the fridge, and making sure all the balls and bibs. They still do all that, but I think they could do a little bit more.
You talk about your heroes. And presumably there were first team players who suddenly see these young guys coming through and they think you're a threat to them, aren't you? Were there players who actually weren't as friendly and as helpful as others?
No, I think we were very fortunate. I think a lot's been said about obviously us group coming through together, but the biggest thing for it was not us, it was the people we played with, the older pros. They were so good to us, you know. They helped us, they watched us, they supported us, they brought us into their group. You know, we were 17 years of age and probably not even allowed to drink, and we were getting dragged to the pubs and dragged around the places with all the first team players just to get to know them. You know, it was part of, you know, you need to be friends with them, you need to respect them as well, but you need to be friends with them. And the way they treated us was a credit, and it made something up in my head that whenever I got older and had younger players around me, I'd respect them the same way as we got respect off them. So there might have been one or two maybe that didn't really like the attention we got, but they never let it show. They never stopped us progressing and helping us really.
Ryan, you got into the first team first, yes? And what do you remember about your first game? Your very first game for the first team of Manchester United?
Well, we got beat, wasn't it? It was Old Trafford's. The pitch was awful. I remember Dave Watson kicking me. For Everton, yeah, centre half. No, I come on for Dennis Irwin. It was a substitute appearance in '91. We got beat 2-0, and it was me and Danny Wallace up front. So, not exactly heavyweight centre forwards. But no, I just remember enjoying it, loving it. I much prefer my full debut against City. But it was just... We were lucky because we grew up in the surroundings of Old Trafford. We knew the players, so it's not as if a player needs to come in and they need time to get used to Manchester United, such a big club. We just went out and just played, and that's what I did, you know, my first few games. And you didn't think of anything else. You just, what the manager used to always say, was just go out and do what you've been doing in the youth team, do what you've been doing in the reserves, and that's what you tried to do.
Your debut?
Pretty much the same as Ryan. We just got told he'd be in the squad. At the time, I remember Soccerex used to take us with the squad quite a lot. 9 times out of 10 we was carrying the skips for the kit men. We weren't really getting involved, but it was a clever way of getting us into the group, you know, getting us to know what it takes to be a footballer, because you know, a lot of people who don't really know, they think it's all this great life going to hotels, but it's a long time in your rooms doing nothing, and you've got to learn how to cope with boredom, if you like, and prepare for games. So we used to get taken everywhere doing that, and this time it was you in the squad, and I was thinking just to pick up the dirty laundry and stuff and help the kit man, Norman Davis at the time. And then you get named as a sub, and I come on for Paul Ince against Oldham at Old Trafford, same as Ryan. It was bad pitch, it was, you know, not a great day, but we won. And I played with, like I say, my hero Brian Robson, so it was a great debut for me.
And mine was against Wrexham in the FA Cup, and like Nicky said, I turned at home, yeah. And I turned up to the game just expecting just to be picking up the kit, helping Norman with the boots, and at 1:30 I was named as left back, and we won the game 5-2. And I agree with Ryan that you'd prepared all your life maybe for this moment, so it just felt normal going out there. It wasn't a big shock playing in front of so many people, because Eric Harrison and Jim Ryan had prepared you for that moment, so there was no surprises. So you just felt it normal progression into the first team, and you know, it was great the way Sir Alex shielded you from all the other bits of circus surrounding it.
I think with it as well, so it's like both the lads have said, we was used to playing at Old Trafford. We played in Old Trafford in the youth team. We played at Old Trafford in the reserves. And that seems to stop for the last few years with reserve teams. They all seem to go and play.
Regret that?
It's not. I don't think it's great. No, I think a lot of the teams now go and play at different clubs, you know, to save the pitch, if you like. But the modern day pitches are that good now. I think they can take a lot more than they actually do. So hopefully now the club and it has done. Our club are now playing a lot at Old Trafford, and it does prepare you. It helps you. You get to know the size of the pitch. You get to know how you can play on it, and it does help.
The three of us, you played at Wembley for England schoolboys, didn't you? We all played at England at Wembley for England schoolboys in front of 80,000. So all the way through our childhood, we played at the biggest stadium. So when it comes to playing for the first team, there's no surprises. I mean, I know United play at the Salford Stadium, Chelsea play at maybe Arsenal play at Barnet. You know, these aren't preparing them for the big stages for when they get to the first team. So I think that's what the kids are missing out on a little bit nowadays, like Nicky said.
They'll never win anything with kids. Famous quote from Alan Hansen. Were you conscious? Do you ever remember that, or is that something that's sort of gone into history? but do you remember that quote from Alan Hansen? He played at Aston Villa on a first day of a season and lost 3-1. And Alan Hansen said, man, you'll never win anything with kids, and you won the championship.
Yeah, I think at the time not many people would have disagreed with him, including us. You know, and I think at the time you're not thinking of what Alan Hansen says, you're just thinking of you're down because you've lost the first game of the season. But like Nicky said, it wasn't the kids who won it, it was Eric Cantona, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Brian Robson, these sort of players who contributed to winning that league. Yeah, we come through around that time, but it was the older players really who won that league, not the kids.
Philip, I suspect I know the answer that's going to come to this question from all of you, but the most memorable match you played for Manchester United?
That was 99 against Munich. It was
Did you
just
say the same?
Yeah.
Same? Because in that period, I've seen a number of films about the weeks leading up to that amazing night. I mean, did you think on the pitch that you'd lost?
Yeah, I was actually sub, so I saw the ribbons on the trophy, the Bayern Munich ribbons, and I saw Lothar Matthäus touching the cup, kissing the cup. So I was gutted. I was down and out. We'd made all the subs, so I'd virtually thrown the towel in, and you know, it was just an incredible. It wasn't actually the game in Barcelona. It was the build up to the game and everything that went with it. I mean, some of the parties that we had after winning the league and the FA Cup, you know, you just wouldn't believe, you know, the enjoyment that we had in them 10 days leading up to the final, and it was just an unbelievable crescendo, really.
What do you remember, Nicky, about that game above all else?
I don't remember too much about the game, if I'm honest. I think I've watched it twice since then with my little boy, and I just know we got a right doing. To be fair, they should have won 2 or 3. They hit the bar, they hit the post. We couldn't really play at all. And after about the last 10 minutes to go, we started getting into our stride and creating chances. But like Phil said, it was a bizarre thing. I think Gaz Nev said the best thing on the film, that it was the best 10 days of his life. He could relive any 10 days, it'd be that. And I would agree with him. The course of how it happened, you know, we go behind against Tottenham, and we win. We were quite comfortable against Newcastle, and then going into the final, you know, with 2 big players missing like Scholes and Keeney as well, it was massive for us. And as soon as they started hitting the post and the bar, it was as though the writing was on the wall for us. But we just kept going and going and going. And you know, people might think it's a fluke to win in 3 minutes added time, but that was in our, like I said before, it was in our breathing, if you like, right through our lives. We always trained and played like it was. It never got told it was 90 minutes. We always got told it was 96, 97 minutes.
So all these last-minute injury time victories aren't just coincidence. I mean, you'd been doing that over the years. Is that right?
Yeah, we had, and you know, we got taught never to give up. And usually the football that we'd played in the first half, normally by the last 10-15 minutes, teams are tired because we've put so much pressure on them, and that's when mistakes happen, and that's when usually we would capitalise on that and score late. But like Nicky said, it wasn't a coincidence that year. It was something that we'd done time and time again.
I think the coaches as well, at the time Kiddo was really pioneering in the way coaching started in the early 90s and right through, and everyone talks about pre-season and how players hated it, and I hated pre-season more than anything running. We actually used to do 2 pre-seasons. We used to do it in July, and also we used to do a mini pre-season in January as well, and that really kicked us on to the end of the season, and it stood us in so much good stead really over the course of games. We was always fitter than the rest of the other teams in the end of the games. And
the other teams knew as well. You know, if we would equalise,
yeah,
here we go again. You know,
yeah.
They're just going to keep attacking us, and the manager would throw centre forwards on, and in the end you'd have 4 centre forwards on the pitch, and you'd have a winger playing in midfield, or me playing at left back, or so. You know, the manager, that was his attitude. He would always go for it.
You refer to the manager. Now you're 3 ex-players. How, Philip, do you regard the manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, today?
Well, I don't think I'd be sat here if it wasn't for him. He's done so much for me. Even when I left the club, you know, the way I left the club, the way he invited me around to his house, the the way he told me which club to join, the way he told me how to act when I went to Everton, the conversations I had when I was at Everton about how to handle certain situations. He was just, you know, people talk, is there a secret to him? He was just the best man manager that you'll ever wish to. He could walk into a room and he could pinpoint who was feeling good, who was feeling bad. He had a smell for certain games, for certain players. And he was a pioneer at everything, at nutrition. He was the first person to bring in squad rotation before the time, to have 2 players for every position. Now it's squad rotation is just the norm. Well, back then, he brought it in. He had us living our lives the right way. Back in the day when drinking was, you know, so he was just, I think he was a genius. And I wouldn't be here today without him.
Ronnie, he would turn up at, well documented, he would turn up at a party or a social event if he didn't think that you should be there. Did you when you went out in Manchester, do you think the boss could turn up in the next 5 minutes?
No, he just always seemed to know where where he'd been out, and then it triggered one day. Well, he let it slip. Actually, he says, "I know you've been out because you've had a shave." So every time I was clean shaven, he says you'd been out. But so
how do you regard him now?
No, he was just father figure to me. He was just someone who, both on and off the pitch, you would always turn to, and you know, you'd say at 13, 14, he would say to you, "Never be afraid to knock on the door, no matter what it is."
Were you afraid of him?
Yeah.
Were you guys afraid? Were you afraid of him?
Yeah.
Are you still afraid of him?
Yeah.
I think now it's more. Now it's like you still respect him, and you know you still see him as the boss, and he'll always be the boss in our eyes. I'm sure I can speak for all the lads, and I can only say what these have said now. It's just, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have had a chance that we've had. Because you look at most managers now, they don't know any players' names who were under the first team. He knew our names when he was 13, 14. Not only that, he knew brothers' names and your parents' names. He turned up at my school once when I was misbehaving at school, and he turned up there and
how did you react?
Just the once.
Just the once. Yeah.
Every day.
But it's one of you go into the. I remember I went into the headmaster's office thinking, what I'm in trouble again. What have we done now? This time, and I've walked through, being a bit cocksure myself, and I've opened the door and he's sat there, and I've just gone, wow. That was it. It was like, I'm dead. And,
I'm dead.
And basically, that's the kind of person he was. He paid a lot of attention to it, and he got the rewards in the end. And like I say, he's great.
Philip has talked about when he went to Everton. Of course, you left Manchester United as well. How did he handle that with you?
Not as well as I liked to it. I wanted to stay, so it weren't that great for me. But no, we had a conversation. It got to a point where I'm the kind of person that plays football, works, goes home and enjoys my life, my family life, and my friends, and I don't take football with me. And at the time, I don't know if Phil probably might say the same, I was going home moody. I wasn't happy about training ground, and it got to a point when I was getting to 30 years of age, and I didn't want to be remembered as a good squad player. I wanted to be remembered as a player in my own right, and he understood that, spoke to me and said, you can go, but it's only if it's good for yourself and only if it's good for the club. And like Phil said about picking the team, we went through all teams because I was fortunate to have quite a few teams in for me, and I picked the one that I felt was right, and obviously the manager felt was right, and he was really helpful in it. And even when he was at the club, he spoke to you probably once a month, ringing up, texting, see how you was, and you know, you don't forget things like that.
Philip referred to David Beckham as a superstar, and you know, I was lucky enough to see the superstar in various places in the world over the years. How did you come to regard all that stuff around David Beckham, Ryan?
I don't think it happened overnight. I think it just, obviously the goal from the halfway line against Wimbledon, it was the key moment, and then it sort of shot up from there. But I think within football, it was his sort of release, and he was always a good pro. He'd always train well, and he'd always perform on the pitch. So no matter what was happening in his life, he would always be professional, and we would just treat him the same. And to us, he would always still be the same. But yeah, we would just take the mick out of him. Just, you know, if he'd wear a skirt or a stupid haircut. So he felt at home and at ease with us.
Did you think that any of the players with England were jealous of him?
I don't know about jealous. I don't really know. I think that maybe one or two maybe resented him for the power he had in England, because as you know, he had a lot of power in the England setup. A lot of decisions went through him, and maybe a few people resented that. But just echoing what Ryan said, he was always, and still to this day when we meet up, for the film or we meet up for a meal, he's still Bex. He's still a 16-year-old boy who's come down he's come up from London, and a skinny little boy who loves Man United is still the same lad, and we all just clicked when we were back together. But it's like Ryan said, it just snowballed. He got famous and famous and more famous and more famous. Before you know it, he's a massive big superstar, but he handles that, he does it well.
It's difficult to get jealous of someone that actually, when he's in a room with you, he's actually quite humble and shy.
Sure.
If he was in a room giving it the large one with with all these materialistic things, then you'd probably get jealous of him and probably resent him. But actually, when he's in a room, he is just David Beckham, the footballer, and not that global superstar outside that everybody else sees.
When you see him now, Philip, how do you regard him now?
He's Bex. We did the film together, and a lot of us hadn't probably seen him for a while, and he came up to Manchester, and he's just Bex. We had a laugh. He has a go at us. We slaughter him. It's just no different, and that's the way he likes it, and that's the type of lad he is. To be fair.
What do you think he'll do now with his life?
I think he could achieve anything he wants to achieve. You can see him. You can see him going up to government level, or to head the FA, or to do something in America that's not just average. He doesn't do anything that's average. He doesn't want to do anything that's average. He wants to do something that's going to leave a legacy, a stamp. So I can see him. I heard him talk this week about being involved with the FA, and I think it'd be silly for the FA not to take up that kind of offer, because what an unbelievable ambassador he is.
You, meanwhile, a one-club man, and I mean, was there ever a moment that you came anywhere near leaving Manchester United as a player?
I had a difficult season, 2002, 2003, where I wasn't playing as well, and there was a lot of talk in the newspapers of me going to Italy, going to Inter Milan, but I wasn't really close to me leaving. It was just I was going through a bad spell, and I got linked with other teams. But that ended up actually being quite a successful season for me and for the team. So from then on, really, the turning point for me was just trying to change my game from, a winger who would just use the pace to evolving really into a midfielder. So I think it took a couple of years to do that, and my form suffered. So in them years I was getting a little bit of stick, but close to leaving now.
And the boss Sir Alex had defended you from the media. I remember all that early part of your first team career, and the media would be screaming and shouting, "We want to interview Ryan Giggs," and he said no. Was that? I mean, you were happy to go along with that, or did you reach a point where you thought, "Why am I never having a say at all?"
No,
or did it help you? I don't know.
No, I was 17 and I just, left school a year before. I didn't really want to be doing interviews after every game, and I just wanted to concentrate on football, and that's all the manager wanted. And he said, there's plenty of times to do interviews, and then even when I'd look back when I'm doing interviews at 19, 20, I'm going, it's cringe.
You used to watch them then?
Well, I've watched them back now, but and I just wasn't good at it, which you would expect, and you just wanted you to concentrate on your football, not worried about what you're saying. And if you did say the wrong thing, then you're going to get a bit of stick off your teammates. So no, just concentrate on football, and I was happy with that.
You've never regretted, even today, do you ever regret not playing at senior level for England? The decision to play for Wales?
No, it was never an issue for me. I think obviously the confusion comes because I played for England schoolboys, which was a brilliant experience for me. Like Phil said, I got to play at Wembley twice. I was at Old Trafford. We played Scotland, and it was a brilliant experience for me. I was captain. I knew full well that the next year I'll be playing for the Welsh youth team, which is what happened, because as far as I'm concerned, I was Welsh. I was born in Wales. My parents were Welsh. Grandparents were Welsh. So it was never an issue with me. The confusion comes with obviously playing for England schoolboys.
But when Nicky was going off with England, and and Philip and Gary were going off to Euro 96, you didn't think, I wish I was there?
No, my first memories of football, the '82 World Cup. So, yeah, everybody wants to play in a World Cup. Everybody wants to play in the European Championships, but it just wasn't to be. So, yeah, I wish I was there playing, but we were never good enough to qualify.
Came close, didn't you, a few times?
Come close, yeah, in '93, '94. Yeah, we could have beat Romania and we'd have gone to America. So we come close then, and we come close later, 2001, 2, with Sparky, going to the European Championships. But no, and on the other hand, maybe if I would have been playing in World Cups and European Championships, I wouldn't have played till 40. So, you couldn't have had it. You can't have it both ways.
As far as England duty was concerned, you can tell us now, did the manager, when you were coming up to a friendly match X, suggest that you might have a strain in that ankle or that bottom bit of the back or whatever?
No, he never pulled you out faking an injury. He never once said to me, you're not going, you've hurt your ankle, you got a game coming up next. It was a case of, you got an England game coming up, you're not going, and that was it. He'd tell, basically tell the FA that it's a friendly game. You got, at the time, I think there was probably 9 of us going, wasn't there, at one point? 7, 8, 9 of us going. And it was most of his team. So it was a case of, it's a friendly game, you've got to be fair with me, and I'll be fair with you, and I'm pulling them 2 out, and you can have the rest of the other 6. Yeah. And the next time a friendly will come, it'll be another 2 that get pulled out. So he was honest. He was honest to the FA as he was with us as young players, like we said.
When you look back on England, I mean, your brother thinks his time with England was a failure.
Yeah.
Sum it up. Do you think it was a failure?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Euro 96 was an unbelievable opportunity to win a trophy, and we always measure our success not on individual glory, but on obviously team doing well and team winning major championships. And in our time, when we came through an England team that was probably a great set of players, and we didn't win a thing. In Japan, in Germany, we just failed, and we failed in quarter-final, semi-final, and I can't see how anyone who's played in the similar period of what we've played, that's come out, and even if they've got 100 caps and not won a major trophy, can think it's been successful. I can't, and that's why Gary said that it was a failure. I totally agree, because England should be winning major tournaments. And I know you don't have a divine right to win a major tournament, but the generation that I played with, the Gerrards, the Lampards, the Terrys, the Campbells, Butty, Scholes, we should have won a major tournament.
So what was it? Do you have an answer to what the problem was?
Well, I mean, 2096, we were inches away from winning a major tournament. Yeah. In 2004 in Portugal, Rooney goes off with a bad injury. I think some of our bigger players then hit brick walls. Lampard, Gerrard, I think they were shattered after the tournament. Scholes, Beckham, they just hit brick walls. We should have won the Euro 2004. 2002 in Japan, I think it was a fluke goal from Ronaldinho. And then we failed in other tournaments. 98, we didn't get past the last 16. Obviously, it was a failure in the summer in Brazil. So you can say bad luck, but I just don't think we've got that big tournament experience or that big tournament mentality after the length of season we've got, going then and kicking on for the rest of the summer as well.
But other countries have the same issue.
I don't agree with my friend Phil here. I just don't think we're good enough. If I'm honest, as a team, I don't think we're good enough. I think we've got 1 or 2 top players.
I think we have been good enough.
I don't. It's my turn to speak now. I don't. I think no. But if you look at all the teams that are successful, they stay together for 8, 9, 10 years. England's always changing and chopping and changing. It's always, who's a new good player today? We're going to play him. A certain player's not played for 3 or 4 games, so he can't play. I'm going to put him in. But like Delph, who played the other day, played well. Did a lot of running, worked well for himself. And the next game, will he play? You don't know. He's going to play. They never get no continuity because we can't do it. Spain, they play together since we're 15 years of age. They get the rewards. We don't.
It's the biggest thing in their lives as well. Going away for England probably wasn't the biggest thing in my life, because I was looking at the next Man United fixture. And that's what, if you're in the Champions League and you're meeting up on a Sunday after playing Arsenal, Liverpool at the time, you was actually worried about what your next Man United fixture was, and because the Premier League is so big and the Champions League is so big, maybe England wasn't the number one focus for us.
How did you, I mean, where would you be on this? Did you think England just weren't good enough?
No, I thought they were good enough in some tournaments. I mean, you know, a lot of the success that we had with Man United, you need luck. A lot of the times, whether it be penalty shootouts, whether it be players getting injured at key moments, you just didn't quite have that luck. But as part of my pro licence, last year I went to Turkey and watched the under-20s World Championships, and France won it, and Pogba was centre midfield and captain.
Sure.
I don't understand. While we were there, we named the players who could have been there for England. They should be there trying to win it. The Sterlings, the Wiltshires, I think, could have. Sure. These players, instead, I think they went to Brazil. I think they actually drew with Brazil in the friendly. So, okay, that's a great experience. But which is better, going to a major championships, winning at under 20s level, winning at under 21 level, just like Nicky says, and growing together.
Yeah. I'm sure if you ask all the fans as well, would you accept being knocked out of the next two competitions with a young team if in the third competition we do really well because we've been together for 8, 9, 10 years? We're getting knocked out of them all the time anyway, so why not get knocked out with a young team that are trying to progress together? And then at the end of the 8 years, you've got a team who are comfortable together. They've been away together for every single trip. They know each other inside out like we all did when we were growing up. We knew each other since we were 14, and they have a chance in 8, 9, 10 years. We don't seem to see that. We just seem to try and win it every tournament we come to.
Would you accept that tournament football is totally different to club
that's why I take Ryan's point about. I went away with Stuart Pearce to the under-21s in Israel, and there was a friendly. It was a similar friendly to what Ryan was talking about in Brazil. I think there was 9 players out of the full team could have come to the under-21s, but they didn't. And that tournament in Israel would have prepared them for the Brazil World Cup, because all the Spain team was there, all the Dutch team were there that went to the World Cup, but our lads didn't want to be there. They wanted to play in a little friendly and then go off on their holidays. You know what I mean? There's got to be some kind of plan where they experience and win a tournament under 21 level, then go to the national team the year after, and like Nicky said, in 4 years' time, this team that Roy Hodgson's building might be for Russia in 8 years' time. You know, there's got to be continuity there, and maybe that's not what we've had.
It's not easy because the Premier League's so powerful, and you know, as a Premier League manager, would you want your players at the end of a hard season going off and playing in a tournament?
Surely it's a question of priorities, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's why we need to work together with the national teams in the Premier League.
So here we are today. You're an assistant manager, you're a coach, and you're a television pundit. Yeah? I mean, how is that? I still remember you at Euro 96 with Gary at the team hotel, paying much more attention than anybody else to what was going on in the television studio at the end of the garden.
Yeah.
I mean, have you always had this thing? Has he always had this thing about going into television?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you surprised? Yeah?
No, it's something that we've always been interested in.
What was in that van?
I mean, are you surprised he's taken to television as he has?
I'm not surprised with his performances on TV, and I'm not surprised that the public have wanted, because you know he's Man United through and through. But when you see him on the telly, he's very unbiased. He's impartial. He speaks very well, and he's current, and he actually says it how it is. And it's very difficult. I mean, I was on Match of the Day last Saturday night, and United played Burnley, and I worked at United last year, and it's so difficult to actually comment on your team. It's the hardest thing ever. And for Gary last year, commenting on Man United's performance must have been the hardest thing he's ever had to do, because he's got to remain true to his job, but he's also got to remain true to the club and his friends and his brother, who's first team coach, in the job as well. So, you know, there's got to be an honesty about it all, and I think that's what shone through with Gary.
How do you regard it when Gary tells it as it is with Manchester United these days?
No, that's Gary. And I think that's why he's been so successful, because he tells it how it is, and he always has done. He's not going to change. But yeah, I'd take Phil's point. I mean, it must be so tough to get that balance of criticising and then being biased towards your club, that, you know, no one loves Man United more than Gary Neville. So it's tough, and it's amazing what he's done in such a short space of time. But he's just like when he was a player. I mean, he took that telly thing home that he took it home and practiced for 2 or 3 weeks. He had it at his house. So to make sure that first Monday night football, he didn't look amateur. I'm sure he made a few mistakes, but he prepared as best as he could, like he did in his career.
So we're coming to the end. When I say to you, tell us about your perception now of Manchester United. Nicky, has the club changed? Does the departure of Danny Welbeck mean that Manchester United has changed beyond recognition?
I think all clubs are changing. I think Man United was probably one of the last standing ones that I've had the connection between youth and first team players. I mean, to be fair to Liverpool now, they're doing that as well. They're doing that really well. But we're still trying to do that. We've still got a vision of doing that. The club's massive for all its career. It's believed in getting players through. The Danny thing is just something that's come at a certain time in the club's history that everyone's thinking, oh, they forgot about the youth. And look, they're selling Danny Welbeck now, who's through and through Man United. He's been there since he was 7, 8 years of age. But things happened. Danny wasn't playing in his position he wanted to play in. The club now only has so many games because they're not in Europe. And I think it's a case of being fair to the player, being fair to the club, having somebody with Danny's ability, with his international credentials as well. He wants to keep his England place. Dia must have had a chat and spoke about moving on, which is what he did. So it's not a case of giving up on youngsters, giving up on the academy. It's a case of getting the club back to where it needs to be, winning ways, and that's the first and foremost the priority for the club now is to get us back in winning ways. And they brought a manager who's a winner, who's proven to win things. But he said himself it's a short-term thing for him. He's signed a 3-year deal, I think, and he's going to be here for that length of time and get the club where it needs to be, is winning. So for now, the club's priority is to win things, and unfortunately, it takes a back step. The rest of it, but there's people still underneath that blanket, what everyone sees, working hard, working all the hours God sends to get these young kids through. And me and Ryan was only there last night at the academy. Monday night at the academy, just under 9s, under 10s, and 11s watching it. So we do take massive attention to what's going on there. But at the minute, the most important thing is, unfortunately, is to get the first team back to where it is, which is winning ways.
I'll ask you this rather than the guys. Do you think he's a bit scary?
Lou Van Gaal? Oh,
Yeah.
he's definitely got an unbelievable presence. He walks down that touchline, he does look like the man. But going back to Danny's not the first and won't be the last homegrown player to leave Man United. Me and Nicky have both left. Yeah, it's sad to see both Danny and Tom leave, but there's other lads coming through. There'll always be lads coming through, and the lads will always get a chance. It's Man United, it's part of the history of the club. You've got Ryan there who will be probably fighting tooth and nail for these lads to keep getting put in the first team. You've got Tyler Blackett who's in the first team now, who's come from the reserve. So it's not going to be the end of the conveyor belt. It's just that sometimes in your career, you've got to move on for the good of your own career, just like Sir Alex told me and just like Sir Alex told Butty.
Ryan, assistant manager. Presumably one day you would like to be the manager. One day. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. I always leave the gap. How do you perceive this? I mean, for you, as someone whose life has been Manchester United, do you now think that the club has changed?
No, the club will never change. I mean, the history of the club is to play exciting football, always give youngsters a chance, and keep to the traditions of the club. And we've now got a manager who, Danny has left, which is obviously disappointing because you never want to see a homegrown player leave. But this is a manager who gives Seedorf his chance, give Kluivert his chance, give Iniesta his chance, Xavi, Thomas Muller. He's got a track record of giving young players a chance. Tyler Blackett's played every game so far this season. Underneath Van Persie, Rooney, you've got Januzaj, you've got James Wilson. So, like Phil says, it'll always happen. Players will leave, but we've still got to make sure that young players come through because United fans demand it. And someone who's come through, I want to see that as well. I want to see young players coming through because fans always give young players that if they make a mistake, they don't get on their backs. They always encourage them. and that has been right through the history of Man United, and we never want to lose that.
Could there ever be another class of 92?
I hope so. I mean, it's obviously going to be a tough ask because 5 or 6 players come through at the same time, and not only come through. You know, I think the easy bit is getting into the first team. The hard bit is staying there for a long time. So yeah, we hope so, because you know we're proud of our youth system, and that's what we feel separates us from a lot of other clubs. We always give young players a chance, and homegrown young players. Of course, like I said earlier, the world's changing. You know, these young players who are coming through might be a bit different now. It might not be a lad from Salford. Hopefully it will be a lad from Salford. But also we've got people like Rafa da Silva, who's been there since 15, 16. We've got Januzaj, who's been there since 15. So, yeah, we still hope that 4 or 5 will come through, and obviously that would be great.
Nicky, do you think there could ever be another class of 92?
They could be, and they should be, but I doubt it will happen in today's society with the way football is. You know, it's like everything's got to be today, everything's got to be now. A lot of foreign investors are coming in as owners and buying clubs and wanting immediate success. They're spending billions of pounds getting the, you know, superstar managers in, and they want immediate success in 2 or 3 years, or well, sometimes it's like 6 months, or they're sacked. So if I was a manager and I'm going to go into a top job, and my boss is telling me you've got 6 months, 9 months to make an impact and get us back onto winning ways, unfortunately I'm thinking of myself, and I'm trying to buy players that will get me success. Until owners speak to managers and tell them it's a journey that we're going to go on together and could take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and you're not going to get sacked, I don't think you'll see 6 players or 5 players or even 3 players coming through from the same age groups, because the immediacy of it in football now is they want it now, and they want it, if it's not now, they want it the next season.
Are you going to go back to coaching and managing?
Yeah, I think so, eventually. I think this is a little period where I'm just going to take stock and get a bit of energy back. I've been in football, you know, for 20 years, and you know, last season was really tough, and going to get a bit of energy back. I love doing my media stuff, and I'm doing bits for England youth teams, 17s, 18s last week, and there is a lot of talent out there, and I think there are clubs out there that are bringing the young talent through. Southampton's doing a great job. Jose Mourinho even said there's 3 English lads there that if they don't play for England this year, he's doing his job wrong. So I know there's been a lot of spending, but there are lots of young talent out there. Nicky will see it. He watches a lot of youth football. These lads will get through if they're good enough, because I think football's turning in this country now where, yeah, we'll continue to spend, but I think the young lads of today will get through and get their chance, because I think the fans and the owners will start demanding it. Instead of paying the big fees, they'll want to start producing their own players, and I think we'll see it over the next 3 or 4 years. I see it at Man City with their academy. In the next 3 or 4 years, Man City's academy is going to be, you know, taking off because of the players and the investment that they've made. So I think English football's in really good shape, and I think the young players coming into the academy system, and I think the academy system is really good, we'll see the fruitions in the next 3 or 4 years.
On that optimistic note, our convention comes to an end. We would like to thank the City of Manchester and Marketing Manchester, all the staff here at Manchester Central, all our sponsors, the fantastic staff of Soccerex as well, who've worked endlessly. A conference like this doesn't just happen. It involves many, many months of work. I would like to thank our guests from every continent of the world. The Soccerex family actually will meet again on October the 21st and 22nd in Barbados.
Can we come?
Where we hope the weather will be very similar, if not better, than it's been in Manchester this week. My thanks to every one of you who've come, and we hope we've provided a stimulating 3 days. And my final thanks are to the 3 guys, and to say what a privilege it's been to get to know you and to be with you today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.